our beautiful camera zoom. It's
Exactly.
top left hand corner. Game number 1 in this best of 3 series, the first best of 3 for the North American region of today. We have none other than Erik, going for a very quick gas geyser and spawning pool.
You know, we talked about Erik builds and 15 gas candles. No, this is even faster. But in the bottom right, trying to defend against it on Golden Aura. He's the teamless Protoss player. It's Astrea.
Astrea, of course, one of the world's best Protoss players, although I haven't actually seen that many of his games as of late. There's a few players, of course, that just like to play in practically everything. Protoss players like MaxSpecs come to mind. Hero, of course, also loves playing in everything, but we don't quite have that as frequently from Astrea. So I'm excited to see what he's going to bring here. Definitely a favorite in my mind, but this is Erik trying to throw a curveball. He's faking. Okay, he's faking a 16 hatch. But Astrea scouts immediately that this is the fishiest of fishiest openers ever. I love that cheeky drone to the low ground because he's pretending that he just wanted to go for an expand, and he really hoped that that probe was going to turn around and block, well, an expansion that wasn't going to be coming up anyways. But now that Astrea sees what's just about to happen, he should be able to prepare.
Loco, explain something to me. Why is that? Is he worried about a cannon rush? Like, this drone just sitting on patrol behind the mineral line. Obviously, he's not taking the hatch right now, and now he's going to go for it. But, I mean...
No, he was faking it, right?
Yeah.
So, like, the timing of that drone going down to the low ground was to fake a normal 16 hatchery opener. And obviously, this was a 12-11 opener instead, or, like, maybe even quicker than that. I'm not exactly sure. But it was a super fast opener right here from Erik. So he was hoping he could throw a curveball right here at his opponent. And then I guess he just decided, okay, I'm going to make 6 links. Still go link speed because I've already committed into it. And I'll just make an expo behind it. But yeah, the drone could have gone back into the main base, I guess, and mine a little bit more.
Man, that wall was ugly from Astrea, though. Like,
That's not going to win any stall points, that's for sure.
I don't really know why you put a gateway there, right? It's like, not, it's with 6 lings, it's not like there's any sort of, they're going to be able to burrow their way through that pylon that's a little exposed.
Yeah, I guess losing the Cybercore is still possible because he doesn't know if it's like 10 links. Like 10 links can definitely kill the Cybercore, and that's kind of game ending. So I think he built the gateway there to like reduce surface area, maybe.
That, or it's more, you know, one of those things. Like, look, go kill the gateway, all right? Don't go kill the cyber. It's like kind of. I'm not saying
to save the Cybercore.
Yeah, it's just it's a magnet. Like, go attack this thing I don't care about, so you don't attack the thing I actually care about.
So fantastic beginning here though for the American Protoss. Astrea is not going to be unhappy with this because basically everything he had planned for this match is going to be slightly easier now because his economy is booming. The only thing that is a bit trickier for Protoss is that link speed is already done. So yeah, exactly. Like any move out is going to feel a bit sketchy. You don't really quite know what the follow-up from Zerg is going to be. So losing a Stalker here, for example. Nicely done. Losing a Stalker here would be an issue. So obviously it could be that Erik is going from an all-in opener into another all-in opener with like a Ling Bane bust. So I don't know how adventurous Astrea feels here. Taking a third Nexus is going to feel pretty sketchy too, but I mean, his economy is going to be so much better than the Zerg at this stage in the game.
Oh yeah, and that's one of the benefits as well as going into the Stargate behind this, right? You get an Oracle out. You're able to run across the map and see what's happening and get a really solid understanding of the fact that Erik doesn't have a third hatch on the way. He's got a Roach Warren about halfway done. He's droning up a little bit, but not at any I mean, I think he's probably going to drone up to maybe like 41 drones, right? Two or three extractors, full mineral saturation, main and natural, and go. At this point, I mean, we're 4 minutes in. You have to, if you have any designs on some sort of mid game, on some sort of macro play as Erik, you gotta go and drop that third base. But no, it's Roach's on the way. He got his last round of drones. It's not even going to be at 41. It's going to be even less than that 32. And he just wants to go, right? Catch his opponent before he's ready. And make no mistake about it, Astrea can still lose this game. He's got Oracles. They don't do a lot against Roaches. He's got like a Stalker or two. He doesn't have a lot that really deals with a ton of Roaches now, running pell-mell into his natural, running pell-mell into his third base.
Yeah, it's an awkward game whenever Protoss has got an extra base compared to the Zerg at minute 5, right? Like, that is not quite the normal. He actually cancels because he realizes that all he needs to do is hold this attack that's currently coming across the map. So Erik is putting all of his eggs in one basket and he's ready to send it, but my question is, does he really have enough? I mean, he doesn't have any units here that shoot up. So as long as Astrea has some flying units, and he goes for a Void Ray right now, I think that's an excellent choice. I don't see how Erik is ever going to be able to break this. There's 2 shield batteries. I think Astrea could have even kept the Nexus alive if he really wanted to be honest.
I mean, so the one thing is, right, this Cyber Core is dead. He's gonna, well, maybe it's not dead after all. Overcharge is pretty strong. I was gonna say that, you know, like the Cyber Core is dead, right? So you're not gonna be able to build Stalkers, and that does make these roaches more powerful, but turns out that Astrea knows better than I do, and Cyber Core is actually not gonna die whatsoever. The Oracle's on top of things. Eventually the Cyber Core may fall down, but no, this is not, nothing's gonna happen here. It's still not dead. Loco, please help.
Yeah. No, this is one of those situations that you run into when you accidentally have your early game build fall flat on its face. Erik decided that he wanted to go for an all-in into another all-in. Now we're gonna follow up the all-in that went into an all-in with another all-in, I guess, as we're gonna go into double Evo chamber and a 3rd hatch. This is Erik basically crossing his fingers and, well, maybe crossing his toes too. He's crossing everything just to try and just hope that Protoss is never gonna attack within the next 4 minutes. I find those odds pretty low, but I think yeah, Astrea is gonna be going for a push here eventually. But I guess the kill on the Cyber Core is gonna slow down the Protoss a bunch.
It will. Erik's growing his hair out so he can braid it, right? So you just have enough things crossed to make sure that he has some shot in this game. Yeah, Astrea has to not be Astrea at this point for that to not work out. Like, even if Astrea goes and lets Erik live for 4 minutes, that's because Astrea is on like mass carriers or something, and he's just building this army that there's no way that Erik beats down. So, you know, he's gonna try. He's building a ton of lings right now. He's double hatch, double expanding. Astrea is playing defensively. He's walling off that 3rd base. The cannon going down, getting his 3rd base on the way. But even leaving Erik alone isn't enough. Erik needs to simultaneously be able to drone up like a madman, get all of his tech done, and also somehow make a run-by happen. But Loco, it's golden aura. There is not a path to make this happen. It's just so hard to get in on the core 3-4 bases of a Protoss player.
So he's gonna try and commit once more. I mean, we have those Oracles alone are gonna have a grand old time. Now we have a warp in too. Luckily, there's a few ways of getting out of this 3rd base. The main saving grace here for Erik is the fact that he killed the Cyber Core and there wasn't a Twilight Council nor a Robo facility done. So that slowed down Astrea a bunch. But like you're saying, you know, Astrea doesn't really need to be aggressive. I guess the scariest thing here for Astrea would be something like a Muta transition, something along those lines. So he doesn't quite know about that sort of thing. That could maybe catch him off guard. So I don't think you want to sit back here for super long as the Protoss, but apparently Astrea is feeling comfortable. He's doing his macro testing right here in game number 1, okay? He's going to go into a Robo facility, 2nd Robo, Robo Bay coming up. We're going Blink Rotter. We'll probably see Charge as well in a moment. We're basically going for a little bit of everything. And this, when you're playing a best of 3 series, is a super painful one as Erik. Because you've kind of been behind since like minute 2, but you were never in a spot to really GG out. So there's always a chance you come back. But it is an uphill battle.
Man,
both ways.
There is nothing worse than like playing a game of StarCraft and you're like, I may not be dead, whatever. Mainly because your opponent isn't going to go kill you, and then they run across the map in 5 minutes, and you're like, wow, I've been wasting my time for the last however long it's been because I was very dead in this game. And you know, I'm not saying Erik's wasting his time. Obviously, right? We're in the 2-1 match. If he wins this series, he moves on to the playoffs. Like, there is a lot to play for. You stay in a game until your opponent forces you to leave. On the flip side, he is in a rough spot now. Loco, hear me out though. Hive getting started here. He's got 1-1 melee done, +2 attack on the way.
14 drones.
14 drones is a lot of drones. Are ultras the solution? Is like a 2-2 ultra timing? Does that beat? The answer is no, but does that beat this army?
I'm surprised with how passive Astrea is playing this, if I'm being really honest with you, because I feel like the longer you let Zerg play here, the more greedy they can be. Like, Erik has been really greedy. Look at the work account right now. He's going to be able to catch up. Like, he's still in a bad position, but whereas previously Astrea was ahead in every pillar of the game, right? So ahead in economy, ahead in eco, ahead, or that's the same thing. Ahead in upgrades. Like, he was ahead in everything, in army size. Now, he no longer has that big economical advantage anymore. So it makes the game a lot more difficult. I mean, obviously, this is still a massive advantage, but the more time Astrea gives Erik here, the better it's going to be for Zerg in the long run.
I mean, you say that, Loco.
Vipers coming up. I mean, he can abduct the units. It's doable.
Loco, you say this. Do me a favor. Pull up the income graph.
Okay, I'll pull up the income graph. See? Erik is ahead, dude.
Oh, yeah, for like 2 seconds. He's been down 1,000 minerals a minute for the last 5 minutes.
I mean, my point is that, like, 3 minutes ago, Astrea was ahead in every way imaginable. Right now, one of those ways is no longer an advantage for him. Now, obviously, this is still, like, basically unwinnable for Erik, but, yeah, you know what? He gets a chance.
Loco, please explain to me how 82 probes versus 69 workers is equal. I
mean, at the beginning of this whole discussion, it was like 72 versus 77. But okay, sure, I'll give you this one, Vio. But anyway, it is, by the way, an Ultra Cavern, which I don't know about Ultra Roach. I think at this point, Erik is just thinking, you know what? I got to do something. Whatever I can do, whatever it takes. I would have imagined Brood Lords, but we're not doing that.
Brood Lords in this economy? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Now, even if they are
hit pretty hard,
even if they are good against Tenic League or a bunch of ground units, the Brood Lords have been their damage has been so nerfed that it feels bad. No.
So Astrea is gonna go across the map now. I feel like he could have done this move out minutes ago, but apparently now we're gonna go.
I mean, I like this thing run by. Its adrenal glands are done in 10 seconds, but they still have +2 attack. They're gonna knock down a lot of the static defense and. Well, actually, no, I was gonna say it might make it hard for Astrea to move out, but he's like, no, these lings are not part of your army. I know what your tech is. I'm gonna go kill you in 2 places at once. So Zealots on the left side are gonna knock this 4th base down. The ling run by is shredding static defense, but nothing more than that. 14 drones are dead. Finally, probes are starting to die. But 5 ultras. Loco, I may be wrong. You know, I would love to be wrong. I'm pretty sure 4 or 5 ultras do not beat this army of Astrea.
Astrea is playing an exceptionally safe game. Are we gonna go back home, Astrea? Look, I think Astrea is with you. He felt like he needed to move on in this region in one of the top 2 seats, right? So since losing to Trigger, I think he's just playing this as safe as humanly possible. Why take any risks when you really don't have to? You can't blame the man, but I do think he could have attacked a little bit earlier. Ultimately, though, we're still talking, well, now 5 base Protoss. He's making a 5th Nexus against effectively, well, 4 base Zerg, where the 4th hatch is just restarted. There's a Fleet Beacon coming up. We have double Immortal production to deal with the Ultras. +1 air weapons is fired up. We got Prism. We got all the upgrades going up here for Astrea. He's basically playing with his food at this point.
Okay, so here's what's happening, right? Astrea is taking a page out of Nina versus Uko because Uko is not playing in the regional this season, unfortunately. He wasn't able. I think he had to reject his invitation. But he's taking a page out of Nina Uko because we have had so many long ZVPs that generally someone could have ended a little bit earlier. Now, this move out from Erik is solid. He's going to get on top of this base. I think it dies. Storm against Ultras doesn't really do all that much, so this base is dead. Left side, Slings get in, don't really get a lot done. But hey, Astrea, he took damage. I don't know that it matters, but he took damage. You know, there is something there, Loco. There is something.
Guardian Shield starts up as the Zerg is retreating. Those roaches really quite scary. I mean, Erik really has been trying to pull multiple rabbits out of hats right now. You know, he's juggling hats right now. He's trying his best to come up with a solution to this massive Protoss problem. Here comes Astrea for his 2nd major move out. This time around, he's brought a bunch of Immortals in the mix too, and they're amazing against both Ultras as well as those roaches. Blinding Cloud goes down as well, ultimately blocking the roaches more so than any of the real Protoss units. Void Ray at home, still having a grand old time. Astrea now leading this game by pretty much 80 supply. I think he's gonna win. Yeah, it's a surprise maybe for everybody, but I think he's gonna do it.
Just consider that, you know, the economic advantage isn't as strong as it once was. Now he's only up 25 workers.
Wow, you're not even gonna give me that one. I see how it is. Guys, Astrea wins game number 1 after getting a massive lead at literally 2 minutes into the game.
Yeah, you know, Loco, it's fine. You know, you're just doing the caster thing, right? You're just finding some level of copium. I understand. Yeah. I did that in the Firefly series. I'm like, maybe, and then he immediately dies. The unfortunate thing for you is you did that maybe, and then you had to justify it for 5 minutes.
I think it was fair. I think Astrea just played it as safely as possible. He could have done a big move out significantly earlier. I think he could have gone for even like a 2-base 8-gate or something along those lines, you know, because he was so far ahead off of that early game. Maybe it's also one of those things where, like, when you're the Protoss, like how frequently do you really play against like a 12-11 opener or something along those lines, right? Like a super quick link speed start. So it's kind of difficult to judge the exact position in that game. If you compare it to maybe like a more conventional advantage that you sometimes get, where you kill like a dozen workers with the oracles, and you can capitalize on it because you've practiced that a million times. But yeah, maybe Astrea just wanted to play it as safely as possible, and I guess most importantly for him, he did win in the end. But.
Yeah, and I think it's funny as well as we talk about this. So Erik, we talked about Erik the Darkslayer, right? On top of the Erik build. And the game he played, now granted, he got himself a little bit behind early. That's not great. But the game he played is kind of straight out of Dark's playbook. Early aggression.
Yeah.
Then you move into quick ultras and you build like more ultras than you build lings and try to sledgehammer this Zerg ground or this Protoss ground army. Unfortunately, if you're going to do that, you need to have a really solid economy behind you. And that was just not available to Erik between the damage he took and just from the oracles and just how far behind his early game was. But you know what, Loco? New day, it's a new game, it's a map that allows you to be a little bit more aggressive inside Delta, and game 2 is ready.
Spawning right here, top left hand corner, it's Max Angel, it's Astrea.
And in the bottom right, in the blue, build didn't work out, but you can see ideas behind it at the very least. For the Cranky Ducklings, it's Erik.
He may have popularized the 15 hatch opener, but in game number 1, we had like, what was it, like a 24 hatch? And now we have a 16 hatch here. Apparently, he himself has already transitioned away from that style as well, which is kind of fun to see. Pretty late scout here for Astrea once more. Just like in the previous game, it could have been a bit of an issue. But I think he's going to be able to get away with it easy peasy.
Yeah, and you know, try as Erik might in game number 1. He was not able to quack Erik's or Astrea's defenses. Not able to ruffle his feathers.
There's a lot of bird references for Erik.
Playing for the Ducklings.
Yeah.
I've run out of bad duck jokes already. Well, don't worry.
It's not a lot. That was 2.
That's about it. All I got.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, no, I don't even try to make duck jokes. It's too much, man.
You know, actually, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because Erik is the Dark Slayer, and if you mispronounce Dark, you kind of make it sound like Duck. He plays Duck.
You gotta try a little bit there, but yeah, fair.
The Cranky Darklings.
You know what? Thinking back of that first game, I thought that Erik was faking out a 16 hatch opener, but I'm not entirely sure if that was the case because the probe scout came in pretty late then too, right? I think it was a gateway probe scout then as well in that game. So faking the hatchery on the low ground really doesn't make a lot of sense. Maybe he was just trying to throw a curveball there in general and hope that Astrea would just autopilot and be like, hey, I see a drone going down to the low ground. But with that probe scout timing, I guess you will always go into the main base as Protoss.
Yeah, I think what it might more be is, or more likely to be, is that you're not trying to say it's a 16 hatch. But, you know, maybe it's like a 15 pool or something, and you're...
Yeah.
And the speeds get tight, like just trying to sell the story by maybe slightly different speed timing than what would happen. So
interesting scout timing from Astrea, right? Because you'd imagine you go for an insta probe scout like what we see so frequently in this matchup, but apparently he's feeling more comfortable with this timing instead. As he goes Void Ray first here this time around.
This is something that Astrea likes to do occasionally, and the logic is like if you can go kill 2 overlords, it's worth it. You know, you shut down 200 minerals, you shut down a lot of scouting, it's great. But Erik's already pulling the second overlord on the map back home. He's got one on the right side that I think Astrea may be aware of. Not really sure, but the other overlords that you would like to snipe, you'd like to get that second one. I think they're going to be back home, like under the aegis of the Queens, by the time that the Void Ray is out and across the map and making that happen. So you get that. Void Rays, of course, you know, they can go and just sit on top of a mineral line and kill infinite Void Rays eventually, or infinite drones, just if there's no defense, but obviously that's not going to happen. So yeah, Astrea's going for it. It's something he likes to do occasionally, but I don't know that it's going to accomplish everything that he'd like to see.
This is also a late third hatchery here from Erik, so the fact that this is not like your conventional timing on the third may also trigger this here from Astrea. He's going to go for an Oracle on the back of this. He's looking for any overlords. He knows he can get at least one easily at home. So that one, I would imagine, is going to get sniped here eventually. But he wants a little bit more than that. So ultimately, so far, he hasn't really gotten anything. But the third Nexus is at the conventional time. So this is about 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Very different than what we saw from Mexet earlier today, with a pretty similar looking opener here from Protoss. This base is much, much earlier than what we saw in that particular series. Oracle, though, on the right side of the map will get denied, and, well, we're just hunting Overlords.
Hey, this is actually starting to look really good. The
Yeah.
Queens on the left side, they ran off creeps, so they couldn't transfuse even if they had the energy. Now this one gets a little bit more. And we talked about the break point, right, Loco? It's 2 Overlords. Well, VODs gotten 2. Stalker's going to get a 3rd.
Yeah.
Erik is just living in a supply-blocked hellscape in this early game.
Yeah, this is not ideal whatsoever. It's going to be a Spire, by the way, this time around. And the question is, where is that Spire coming up? It's inside of the main base, so no vision for Astrea just yet. That is the one thing that I would have actually liked to see in the previous game. Like, when you're that far behind, either like Swarm Host or Spire or something like that to try and get back into the game can be really quite good for the Zerg, but we didn't quite see it then. Going straight Spire, though. We don't know yet what sort of Twilight Council upgrade we're going to have, but there's a very good chance it's going to be Blink.
I mean, even then, though, you go Blink against a committed... Because this is Lingbane Muta, right? This is Erik effectively playing into a desire to go for a base trade in like 4 minutes from now.
It's quick Robo Bay here. Sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah.
we don't even have a Twilight Council. It's straight Robo Bay instead.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, even if this is Blink against a bunch of mutas is like a stopgap. It's not good, right? So, and yeah, going into a quick Robo Bay as well is just the perfect thing. Now,
sees it.
the Spire's gonna get scouted. We should see some Stargates get dropped pretty quickly here. Astrea now knows what's up, and he's okay. So Phoenix is on the way, but with how committed this is, and maybe Astrea doesn't know this just yet, but there is no other tech. It's +1 melee. This is going to be very heavy into the mutas. You need more than just a single Stargate. It can get out of control very quickly.
So there's the Mutas coming up. One Phoenix can, well, in theory, kill a lot of Mutalisks, but realistically, when you have to micro it, it's very tricky. There is also the Blink started up, and we are just going to go Blink Stalkers together with Phoenixes to try and counter the Mutas for the time being. Erik has got a massive timing window where he can potentially do a lot of damage, but Astrea is going to go for a few Photon Cannons too to try and buy time. So obviously Phoenixes can move and shoot at the same time, whereas the Mutas don't really have that luxury, but they're incredibly quick. 9 Mutas can actually wreak havoc here.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, the one downside is Baneling speed's not done just yet, so you do have this issue where Banelings are getting morphed, but you can't... It's a little hard to use them to bust down static defense, but ooh, look at this, going to try to bust their way through. Great stasis trap, though, by so much time. So that the first attack's not really going to work out all that well. Probes pulled on the right side as the Banelings try to run in, but looks like they're dealt with for the most part. Astrea is handling this. He's not where he wants to be just yet. Tech's not there, obviously, but he's handling this really nicely at the start.
Yeah, he needs to not forget about those Banelings, though, because they are going to wake up out of a stasis right now. I think they're going to... Yeah, just... Okay. Well, 4 workers, I guess, is acceptable, but they are going to kill at least a little bit more than I think they were originally supposed to. The thing is, Astrea is buying time, right? And that's really what he's aiming for. Now he's got money as well for a Colossus. Blink is going to be finishing up momentarily. And usually it's that first wave of Mutas that's really scary. Now, Erik is going to go Mass Muta here, which is an interesting choice. Again, something that Dark likes to do, where you don't just go for like 8 Mutas, but you go for a lot more than that.
Yeah, and I worry here as we look at this that Astrea's got the wrong read, right? So he's going Phoenix. He's got Phoenix. He's got Blink Stalkers going into Colossus. Sure, fine. He's building this powerful ground army. That is a ground army that is not great against mass mutas. Yeah, 30 Blink Stalkers will fight a bunch of mutas and it'll be fine, but you don't have the maneuverability there. And this is not an army that, oh, he's going to get on top of the Phoenix as well. That's fantastic. And this Colossus, okay, overcharges there. It's not going to go down. But again, the problem is like, this army that Erik is going for is the Banelings are going to try to find their way in. No force fields, nothing there. No probe bullets. Going to be a bunch more dead. Oh, a shot. 10 workers go down. This idea, this thing that Erik is building into, he wants a base trade. This entire composition of Erik says, look, you can never move on the map. If you do, I'm going to kill everything. Otherwise, I'm going to slowly chip you down. Astrea can get himself to the point where he's going to be okay. And he's getting himself a second Stargate's going down. Fleet Beacon's getting, so we're going to get Andean Pulse Crystals. But Astrea did have the wrong read on this, and that does slow him down quite a bit.
Absolutely. He's going to try and make as big an army here as possible, but the 4th base getting the Knight there does slow it all down quite a bit. The Pulse Crystals upgrade gives them additional range on those Phoenixes. We once again have an attempted, okay, well, not an attempted one anymore. We do have a massive run by. That Photon Cannon is going to get sniped immediately, and this is going to be the end of a lot of probes. Phoenixes, I mean, they have to be in the right position, and so far, Astrea has been caught off guard. When it comes to positioning his army, quite a few times already. Nice play right here by Erik, but he needs to be careful because he's losing a lot of very expensive units, and while his economy is good, it's not like he can just insta-rebuild them. Oh, he's going Corruptors. Okay.
Yeah. This is, I mean, it's Phoenix Corruptor, right? This is, you talked about Dark style, and this is how Dark beat Classic at Atlanta. You sit there, you get damage done, you don't let the Protoss player move out, and eventually you have to, and then you have this army that has so much mobility, and the Corruptors, again, they fight against the Phoenix.
Your range.
Canyon Pulse Crystals is done, and these mutas are dead. The Corruptors aren't out just yet. You're going to lift the Queens, the rest of the Phoenix. They're going to kill all the rest of these mutas. So, yeah, a lot of damage has been done, but the counter tech against this Canyon Pulse Crystal idea, it wasn't there in time. A lot of mutas are dead, and now Astrea feels comfortable moving on the map with Colossus, with Stalkers, with everything. Colossus counter the Lings, Stalkers counter the Corruptors and everything else, and all of a sudden, Erik is going to really struggle in the next 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, there's no Prism here, so no easy way for Astrea to reinforce this. He also doesn't really have, like, a ton of units here, I guess, but he is certainly gonna, well, give it a try, and so far this attack is very successful. Excellent timing right here, hit by Astrea. He's gonna be able to make quick work of that base. He just needs to be careful he doesn't lose too many units here, because again, he can't reinforce this super easily. But I think ultimately, yeah, this is, even if he just trades, right, it's an amazing fight here for the Protoss.
And I love how impotent these Corruptors are looking at it as well. It's like, we're gonna chase the Phoenix down. It's like, well, yeah, you just lost your base, Erik. Like, they're not doing anything on the ground. You need something here. And Mass Ling against this army on the ground is actually really good. But I think he's lacking Larva. He's got 7. He's got some money, but he just doesn't have the critical mass of the Lings that allows him to do what he wants. He doesn't have the Queens as well. So he also didn't opt into a base trade, which is how this army can lose, right? Runs across the map. You have Lings and Mutas across the map. These +2 Lings are fantastic. But instead, Astrea gets 2 bases, doesn't lose, pretty much loses just about nothing on his side of the map. And yeah, these Zealots and these Stalkers will die. Astrea has got more than enough. I have to be careful about, though. Again, 12 meters on the way. Hive getting started here. Erik, he does still have that base trade ability.
He does still have that base trade ability, but his original plan has not really gone as well as he would have really liked to. I think once the Arkle numbers, and maybe even potentially Storm, are here, Astrea is going to feel incredibly comfortable. The tricky part, I guess, for Protoss at this point is that it's difficult to decide if you want to go for a move out. So he has seen all the bases, and he knows that Zerg is spread very thinly all over the map. I don't think you really want to give the Zerg a lot of time to potentially get back into the swing of things, but it's also scary to move across the map right now. When you know that there are so many Lings, they're well upgraded, and you have those Mutas that are following you around. It's very easy to accidentally overstay here, right? And it's been pretty clear here in this series so far that Astrea wants to play safely more often than not. So he's going to go into the +1 air weapons, +3 ground weapons too. Looks like he wants to play this game for a little bit longer, but right now he does have a massive advantage.
And remember as well, like when we talk about this, yes, Corruptors, they don't take a lot of damage from Phoenix. They outtrade them, sure, fine. With Alien Pulse Crystals, they outrange them too. If your micro is good, you can kill an infinite number of Corruptors with the Phoenix as well. Again, it just takes a little bit longer. So Astrea's just playing around the map, getting damage done. He did lose 11 probes. The Phoenix were caught out here, but now rocking a hard place. Nice trap, actually, from Erik. He's going to have to run back to the Aegis of the Corruptors, certainly, but I think he knocks the Phoenix down. He gets good splash damage on everything. And this Muta-Corruptor ball is starting to get a little bit bigger. Adrenal glands are going to be done soon. But the big problem, Loco, is not the army anymore. I mean, it kind of is even still. But it's the fact that his economy, it's 46 workers when you're trying to play Mutiling Corruptor. You need that big economy to support this very expensive style. So even as the base trade's getting started, the Protoss players got first mover advantage. And as long as What Nexus survives, you can kill everything of the Zerg, recall back home, and win the fight as well.
So it might be worth reminding everybody that the win condition in StarCraft 2 is to kill all of your opponent's structures. The armies don't actually matter, so that's why we have, well, Astrea diving deep onto the creep here. Problem is, Zerg can obviously expand all over the map very, very easily, and you can usually expect the Zerg to be everywhere. Plus, they have more vision, so it's a difficult decision for Astrea to now commit to this fight. I would not be surprised that if he's going to do a recall here, maybe lose this base as well, but then recall towards the base at the 12 o'clock position, his latest expansion. In the meantime, though, he's dealing so much damage, right? Only 16, 15 workers though remain. Here's the recall. Can he fit everything inside of that recall circle? Not quite. So the Protoss army is actually split up, and that can also backfire, because I guess the problem here for Erik is that he just has so much supply caught up in those Corruptors, right? They just don't do that much.
Yeah, and I think it's actually good that we saw Astrea. Well, actually, he's going to catch an army in the middle of the map here. They're going to have to run away, but I think it's actually, I was going to say, I think it's kind of good that he does that, because he leaves enough that he can they can continue to kill, say, the main base of the Zerg player, and continue to do all of this. Zealot should be dead from the Ling, but the Ling reinforcement path, but they're not going to. And he can defend it all.
Look at that one guy just pretending like he isn't there.
Yeah, he's
standing completely still.
He's sitting there, construction worker. You know, he's the supervisor, right? He's letting you know it's man, that survived. So, okay, let's take stock of where we are right now, Loco. Natural's gone. Map's open a little bit. 5 Phoenix, all that remain. He's not building anymore, just building more probes. Astrea, I'm not going to say he can lose this, but there are some angles you can find Erik. The problem, he's just not mining. He's got this one base on the bottom side that technically is mining a little bit, but also the Spire's dead, right? So there's no more really good base trade tech. The mutas that we have are the mutas you're going to get. You can build more Lings, and I mean, these are +2 Archons. You're not going to, they're going to shred these Lings. There's no amount of there's no amount of Lings that you can make that properly handles this.
Yeah, I think this is honestly a very intelligently played game right here from Astrea. It looks very messy, but I believe he's been in full control ever since like minute 7 or whatever. He's felt pretty good ever since he pushed back that first group of mutas. And obviously Erik he's had moments where he looks like he's been out-strategizing Astrea, but I'm pretty sure Astrea has been feeling really solid about how the game goes. GG is cold, and it's indeed gonna be Astrea.